First, we're going to begin with the man who pursued his own American dream, and along the way, he improved North Texas. He had an impact on those who knew him and on many more who never met the man.
I have lived the American dream. I came from a very modest background. Nobody's been luckier than I've been.
Ross Perot's family says the businessman, the politician, and philanthropist died earlier this morning. But he was much more than all of those things, as those who knew him best are happy to share tonight. While many around the country will remember Ross Perot garnering 19% of the nation's vote in his pitch in the 1992 presidential election to put the people first, those here at home in North Texas went on to watch him live that promise.
Without any doubt, Ross Perot was about service over self. He was there to serve people, serve his community, serve his church, serve his nation. It was never about what he could get out of it. It was always about what he could give to any project he got involved with.
One of the most recognizable projects, the Perot Museum of Nature and Science in Dallas. $50 million donated by the Perot children to honor their mother and father has led to a living legacy inside these walls.
I think we've lost a visionary leader, someone who is really inspiring. He cared a lot about this community, the city of Dallas.
Perot built his empire from little means. He created the company EDS, sold that to General Motors, and then went on to build Perot Systems in Plano.
He really helped create the information age, which led to the Bill Gates of the world, the Steve Jobs of the world, the Michael Dells of the world.
But the self-made billionaire never projected his wealth. No one knows that better than the boys down at the Preston Forest Barber Shop in North Dallas. It's where Perot has had his hair cut since the late 1960s.
I asked him years ago, when I first started cutting his hair, Mr. Perot, you are going to retire. And he looked at me and said, retirement's death. You'll know when I'll be retired because I'll be dead. He's retired now.
But until the moment the former Navy man drew his last breath, he also forever had a place in his heart to help fellow veterans. Proper health care for our heroes was a mission that he embraced until the very end.
His motto was he wanted to make sure every wounded soldier got the same health treatment that his son would have gotten.
Mr. Perot, so you know, grew up in Texarkana, if you didn't know, on the Texas-Arkansas border before he eventually would move here to North Texas. Governor Greg Abbott says that Perot exemplified what it means to be a Texan and an American. Abbott calls Perot one of the Lone Star State's greatest sons and is asking Texans to keep his family in your prayers. His family, by the way, has not yet announced any plans for services, but once we do get that information, certainly we're going to pass it on immediately to all of you.